You are currently carrying around a completely flawless physiological handbrake, one that can instantly stop a panic attack.
Yeah, literally built into your body.
Right. But you almost never use it. I mean, instead, you probably just open your phone.
Oh, always. That's the default.
It is. You look for like a dozen different apps with subscription fees. You track your biohacking metrics. You set up this this crazy 10-step morning routine that requires you to wake up at like 4:00 a.m. just to feel functionally okay to face your inbox.
Yeah, just to get to baseline.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, we all know we are supposed to be mindful, but let's be entirely honest for a second. When you are like running late for work, dripping sweat on a crowded subway.
The absolute worst feeling.
The worst. The idea of sitting in a perfect lotus posture and finding your inner zen in that moment is completely useless.
It's actually laughable. I mean, it's incredibly frustrating, isn't it?
Completely.
Because we have taken something inherently natural, right?
Right.
And we've turned it into this weird arms race.
An arms race of wellness.
Exactly. The more complicated our daily stress becomes, the more we just assume the solution needs to be equally complex.
Right. Like, my life is hard, so the fix must be incredibly difficult.
Yeah. We try to fight the crushing complexity of modern life with, like, even more complexity. We build these massive, fragile systems just to find, a baseline level of peace.
It's exhausting. Just totally exhausting. Well, welcome to the Deep Dive. I'm so glad you are here with us today listening, because our mission in this exploration is to look at a toolkit for survival that completely bypasses all of that nonsense.
All of it. We're throwing it out.
Right out the window. We are taking an ancient concept, anapanasati, or mindfulness of breathing, and we are going to violently strip away all the intimidating high-level jargon.
Yeah, the mystical robes, the temple aesthetics, all that stuff.
Exactly. The goal today is to make this a practical, gritty, everyday tool for you.
Okay.
We are not aiming for mystical enlightenment here. We're aiming to survive a Tuesday afternoon without losing our minds.
Which is really, that's the ultimate test of any philosophy, right?
Perhaps so.
Well, if it doesn't work in the trenches of your actual messy life, it's just intellectual entertainment.
Oh, I love that. Intellectual entertainment.
Right. But the framework we are exploring today from our source material, it is wonderfully down to earth. It translates ancient mechanics directly into, modern survival skills.
So no fluff.
No fluff, no pretense, and absolutely no requirement to isolate yourself on a mountaintop.
Okay, let's unpack this, because I want to start right at the foundation. Anapanasati.
Just the word itself is a lot.
It is. The word alone sounds like something you need a PhD in Eastern philosophy just to pronounce without embarrassing yourself. But what are we actually talking about mechanically?
Yeah.
Because I think the moment people hear a word like that, their eyes just glaze over and they assume, well, that's not for me.
And that is the ultimate irony of the term. Because mechanically, the source defines it with radical, almost insulting simplicity.
Insulting simplicity. I like the sound of that.
Yeah. Anapanasati is simply knowing the breath. That is literally it.
Just knowing it.
Just knowing it.
Yeah.
It is the act of recollecting or being actively aware of the breath that we inhale and exhale every single second of our lives.
But wait, if it's that simple, why is it a whole practice? I'm breathing right now.
Well, the core insight here, the reason this is a practice and not just, a biological given, is that even though the breath is the closest possible thing to us.
Literally sustaining ourselves.
Exactly. Even though it's doing that, we constantly forget it. We walk around completely oblivious to the very mechanism keeping us alive.
We really do. And I think it's because our attention is just a heat-seeking missile for external chaos.
Oh, absolutely. A heat-seeking missile is the perfect way to put it.
Right. Think about your typical day. Your attention is absolutely everywhere except where you physically exist.
It's in the phone, the computer.
Yeah. It is buried in your email inbox. It is fuming at the traffic jam. It is replaying that vaguely passive-aggressive comment a coworker made 3 days ago.
Which you can't change anyway.
Exactly. Your body is in the driver's seat doing the living, but your mind is living in this terrifying fictional future or an unchangeable past.
Yeah, we are completely disconnected from the physical moment.
So, if the breath is always here, literally tethering us to reality, why do we treat paying attention to it like it's a chore, like it's homework?
Because, honestly, we have been conditioned to believe that valuable things require immense external effort.
Oh, that's a really good point.
Right. We think peace is a destination we have to travel to. Or, like an aesthetic we have to buy into.
An aesthetic, yes.
And this is where this framework aggressively attacks the gatekeeping around mindfulness. The text points out this massive misconception that you need to go to a designated temple or a silent retreat to do this.
You feel like you need a holy day.
A holy day, a specific app, or you need to be wearing like sustainable linen robes.
The linen robes.
Yeah.
So true. We have completely commercialized the aesthetic of peace.
We really have. But the reality check in the source material is glaringly obvious and wonderfully funny. It basically points out, your nose goes everywhere with you.
I mean, hopefully.
Right. It is open 24/7. You do not need to travel to a specific geographic location to find peace when the only equipment required for peace is literally attached to your face.
Okay, that makes sense. But what about the physical positioning? Because that geographical misconception seems deeply tied to a physical one.
The myth of the goddess posture.
Yes, the goddess posture. There is this deeply ingrained cultural image that to practice mindfulness, you must be folded into a perfect lotus position, looking serene, just completely removed from the world.
Yeah, with your hands resting perfectly on your knees. But the reality, and the text is very explicit about this, is that you can do this sitting in a normal office chair while your boss drones on in a meeting.
Wait, really?
Yes, you can do it standing while waiting for the bus in the freezing rain. You can do it lying on your couch.
So, okay, let me get this straight. If I am lying on my couch in, like, stained sweatpants, eating a handful of dry cereal out of the box, technically, I am in the perfect position to practice anapanasati.
You absolutely are.
I just have to know I am breathing.
Yes, because the ultimate goal has absolutely nothing to do with what you look like while doing it.
Thank goodness.
Right. It is not about achieving some supernatural mystical state. You are not trying to see blinding white lights or, levitate or have visions.
No flying through the air.
No flying.
Yeah.
The actual goal is ruthlessly grounded.
Yeah.
It is simply to suffer less.
To suffer less.
Yeah. It is to become smarter about how you interact with your own life.
I love that shift in the metric of success. It's not about being holy, it's about being smart. But I have to push back a little here, just playing devil's advocate for the listener.
Sure, go ahead.
If I'm just standing at a dirty, noisy bus stop, smelling exhaust fumes, in my regular clothes, just, noticing the air going into my nose, am I cheapening it?
Cheapening the practice.
Yeah, like, are we taking this profound ancient wisdom and just watering it down for the modern attention span?
It is a fair question, but the mechanics suggest the exact opposite.
How so?
By removing the mystical expectations, we actually democratize the practice. What's fascinating here is that making it accessible is precisely what makes it profound.
Oh, I see.
Think about it. If a psychological tool only works when you are perfectly isolated in a climate-controlled silent room on a 2-week retreat, how robust is that tool, really?
Yeah, very. It's like having a sports car that can only drive on perfectly smooth, empty tracks. Useless for getting groceries.
Exactly. A fragile tool isn't a useful tool. By shifting the goal from experiencing spiritual phenomena to building practical, everyday resilience, the practice is forced to integrate into the messy, chaotic parts of your actual life.
It has to survive the real world.
Yes. It proves its worth in the trenches. The bus stop is the ultimate testing ground. If you can find a millimeter of peace amid the exhaust fumes and the anxiety of being late, you have mastered the tool far better than someone who requires absolute silence.
Okay, I am sold on the location. The barrier to entry is literally as low as have a nose and be currently alive.
That's the baseline.
But if doing nothing is so easy, why does it feel like absolute torture?
Because we aren't used to it.
Right. How exactly do we do it without immediately overcomplicating things? Because knowing human nature, the moment I decide to watch my breath, I'm going to try to overachieve at it.
Oh, of course.
I'm going to try to be the absolute best brother in the world. I'll be like, am I breathing right? Should I breathe deeper?
We absolutely are wired to optimize. It's a modern sickness. And that is why the starting point is so crucial and so frustrating for high achievers.
What's the starting point?
The instruction is to simply observe the in-breath and the out-breath without forcing a single thing.
So no deep breathing exercises?
No. You do not try to make it deeper. You do not try to make it slower or more rhythmic or more spiritual. You literally just watch the biological process happen.
There is this brilliant analogy in the source material, the analogy of the canal, that I want to spend some time on because it clarifies this perfectly.
Yes, the canal is a great visual.
The idea is that you should imagine you are standing on the bank of a canal and you are just watching the water flow by. That's your only job. Just watch the water.
Just stand there.
You don't put on rubber boots, jump into the water with a bucket and start scooping it out. You don't try to build a dam. You don't try to change the current. You just stand on the bank.
Which is incredibly hard for the modern brain to tolerate.
Oh, it's agonizing.
It is, because we are entirely conditioned to be problem solvers. Our societal value is based on our output and our ability to fix things.
Right. If there's a problem, we have to intervene.
Exactly. If we see water flowing, our immediate instinct is to dam it, reroute for irrigation, or bottle it and sell it. We literally cannot stand the idea of a completely unoptimized process.
Yes. If I notice my breath is shallow, my immediate reaction isn't, oh, look, a shallow breath.
No, it's judgment.
My reaction is, my breath is shallow. Why is it shallow? Am I anxious? I shouldn't be anxious. I need to take a deep breath right now. I need to fix my posture.
And suddenly you're working.
Right. Within 3 seconds, I am fully in the canal, fighting the current, trying to build a hydroelectric dam of self-improvement.
And the moment you jump into the canal, you are no longer observing. You are controlling. You have traded mindfulness for management.
Traded mindfulness for management. That is so perfectly said.
And this is why another concept is introduced in the text to reinforce the canal idea. The concept of being a gatekeeper.
Okay, the gatekeeper. On paper, it sounds delightful.
It does sound nice.
I'm just standing at the gate of my nose with a little clipboard, checking off breaths as they walk in and out. But how does this actually work when the breaths aren't perfect?
Well, the job of the gatekeeper is purely administrative observation.
Administrative observation. I like that.
You only notice who is walking in and who is walking out. If a breath is long, the gatekeeper makes a mental note. Okay, that breath is long.
Got it.
If the breath is short, the gatekeeper notes that breath is short. But here is the critical pivot, the part we always get wrong.
What's the pivot?
The gatekeeper does not judge which is better.
Oh, okay.
The gatekeeper doesn't stop the short breath at the door and say, hey, you are entirely too short. You need to be a long breath. You're not doing a good enough job. Go back and try again.
That is such a vital distinction, and it's the exact point where almost everyone fails.
Because we want to correct it.
Right. It's like sitting on a park bench watching traffic go by on a highway.
Oh, that's a great way to look at it.
Yeah, you see a red car pass, you see a blue car pass, you don't jump into the middle of the interstate, flag down the red car, and start screaming at the driver because they aren't driving a blue car.
That would be insane.
It's absurd. But when it comes to our own bodies, we are doing that constantly. We are in a perpetual state of self-interrogation.
Precisely. We are interrogating our own biology. And by forcing yourself to just be the gatekeeper, to actually drop the judgment, you are forced into the absolute present.
How does that force you into the present?
Well, think about the physics of the breath. It is the ultimate anchor to reality. The past breath is completely gone. You cannot physically breathe a breath from 5 minutes ago.
True.
And the future breath isn't here yet. It doesn't exist. You only have this exact breath right now.
Wow.
It forces your consciousness to sync up with your physiology in real time.
It is profound because it strips away all the narrative. And there is a term used in the source material for this philosophy. Down-to-earth Dhamma.
Yes, down-to-earth Dhamma.
Now, Dhamma is a heavy, loaded word. It sounds like it requires a theology degree to even talk about.
It carries a lot of baggage for people.
It does, but in this context, it doesn't mean a mystical aura or a religious doctrine, does it?
Not at all. In this specific context, the text uses Dhamma to simply mean the fundamental reality of nature.
The reality of nature.
Yeah, the law of how things actually are, stripped of all our opinions about them. It's gravity, it's biology, it's the simple physics of what is happening right now.
And there's a brilliantly mundane example in the text to illustrate this down-to-earth Dhamma. I love this part. What if your nose is blocked from a cold?
Yes, the blocked nose.
Yeah.
It is the ultimate test of radical acceptance.
Because it's so annoying.
It is. The natural instinct when you have a cold and you try to focus on your breath is extreme frustration. You think, I can't do this, my nose is blocked, this is annoying, I'll just try mindfulness again next week when I'm healthy.
Right, like, my equipment is broken, I'll pause the practice.
Exactly. But the principle of Dhamma says, if your nose is blocked, the reality of nature in this exact moment is a blocked nose.
So you don't fight it?
No, you just know it's blocked.
Yeah.
You observe the sensation of the blockage, you accept reality exactly as it is without throwing a mental tantrum about it.
That is incredibly confronting.
It really is.
Because our resistance to mild discomfort is so high, we want everything to be completely frictionless.
And Life is never frictionless.
Never. So you're telling me I just stand on the bank of the canal, watch the blocked nose, and do nothing?
That's the practice.
But I have to admit, and I know for a fact anyone listening to this has experienced this exact phenomenon. You sit down, you resolve to just watch the water.
With all the best intentions.
You are being the perfect gatekeeper. And exactly 4 seconds later, your brain decides it is the absolute perfect time to replay a humiliating memory from the 3rd grade.
Oh, or remind you that you forgot to thaw the chicken for dinner.
Yes, the chicken. The mind rarely cooperates, which brings us to the most chaotic, infuriating element of this entire practice.
The monkey mind.
The infamous monkey mind. Let's really dig into this because this is where people quit.
It's the #1 roadblock.
They sit down, their brain goes crazy, and they think, well, I'm broken. Mindfulness isn't for me. But the analogy of the monkey is just so accurate.
It is the perfect visual. Think of a monkey. It refuses to sit still. It is biologically wired to constantly swing from branch to branch, looking for fruit, looking for danger, never resting.
It's survival mechanism.
Exactly. In our case, the mind is the monkey and the branches are our thoughts.
Okay, so it swings to a branch about a deadline at work.
Right. Then it swings to a branch, replaying an argument you had with your partner earlier that morning.
Then it swings to a completely imaginary scenario about, like, a meteor hitting your house.
Yes. It is relentless.
It really is. You say, okay, I'm going to watch my breath, and 3 seconds later, the monkey is screaming, did I leave the stove on? What did my boss mean by the punctuation in that email? I should really buy new shoes. Why did I say that stupid thing at a party in 2014?
The 2014 party is a classic branch.
It haunts me, and my immediate reaction, and I think everyone's reaction, is intense self-loathing.
We get so mad at ourselves.
I get furious. I think, focus, you idiot. Just watch the breath. But getting angry is exactly what you're not supposed to do, right?
That is the crucial, almost counterintuitive piece of advice here. Do not get angry at the monkey.
But it's ruining my peace.
Which, as you said, is our immediate instinct. We think we are failing a test, but you have to understand the fundamental mechanics of the brain. The monkey is just doing its job.
Its job is to distract me.
The evolutionary nature of the mind is to generate thoughts, to predict danger, to plan. Just as the nature of the eye is to see, the nature of the brain is to think. It is keeping you alive.
Okay, that makes it sound a bit more noble.
Right. Your job is not to pull out a shotgun and kill the monkey.
Good to know.
Your job is not to scream at it. Your job is simply to notice it has wandered off and gently nudge it back to the breath.
Nudge it back, not drag it kicking and screaming, just a gentle, hey buddy, we were looking at the breath right now, let's go back.
Exactly.
And this clarifies what I think is the single biggest misconception in the history of meditation. This practice is not about making the brain empty like a void.
No.
It is not about creating a vacuum of nothingness inside your skull.
And this raises an important question. Why do we assume emptiness is the goal?
Because that's what pop culture tells us meditation is. Just floating in a white room of nothing.
Right. But that is one of the most liberating realizations you can have from this text. People give up because they think the goal is zero thoughts. But zero thoughts means you are dead.
Yeah, flatlined.
The practice shifts the goal entirely from emptiness to knowing. Every single time you realize the monkey has wandered off to a random branch and you consciously choose to bring it back to the breath, you're executing a rep.
A rep like in weightlifting.
Yes, you are building a mindfulness muscle.
Oh, I love that. Which leads us to the absolute best rule in this entire framework. It's called the 1001 rule.
The 1001 rule is fantastic.
And I want everyone listening to really internalize this because it takes all the pressure off. The rule is there is no failing.
Zero fail.
If you lose it, you can come back. If your monkey mind wanders off 1,000 times in a single 10-minute session, you simply return to the breath for the 1,001st time.
Think about the implications of the 1001 rule for the listener.
It's massive.
It completely dismantles our perfectionist conditioning.
Yeah.
Instead of viewing a wandering mind as a failure, which triggers shame, which makes you want to quit, it is viewed as a repetition in a mental gym.
Right, because when you go to the gym to lift weights, you don't just pick up a dumbbell and hold it statically in the air forever.
That wouldn't build much muscle.
No. You lift it, you bring it down, and you lift it again. The act of returning the weight is the exercise. The act of returning the wandering mind is the mindfulness.
Wow. Yes. The wandering isn't the failure. It's the necessary resistance to build the muscle.
But let me play the role of the frustrated beginner here because I can hear the listener asking this.
Go for it.
If the monkey keeps jumping to, let's say, a real heated fight I just had with my partner.
Okay, a highly charged branch.
Very charged. I am legitimately angry. My heart rate is up. How do I nudge the monkey back to the breath without just suppressing my real feelings? Aren't I just sweeping my valid anger under the rug and pretending everything is fine?
That is a very common and very valid concern. It feels like forced toxic positivity.
Yeah, like good vibes only while my life is falling apart.
Exactly, but we have to look closely at the mechanics of what is actually happening. The nudge is not suppression.
What's the difference?
Suppression is pretending the monkey isn't there. Suppression is trying to lock the monkey in a steel cage and ignoring the banging on the door. What this framework advocates is active acknowledgement.
Okay, so how does that look in practice?
You sit down, and the monkey immediately swings to the argument. You feel the anger. Acknowledgement means you look at the monkey and you say, I see you. I see the thought about the fight. I feel the anger in my chest.
You're calling it out.
Yes. You recognize the reality of it, the Dhamma of the moment. But then you actively choose the breath as your anchor in that specific moment.
Instead of engaging with the fight.
Right. You choose the breath rather than letting the thought drag you down a rabbit hole of imaginary arguments and, those shower comebacks we always invent.
Oh, the shower comebacks are undefeated.
They really are.
Yeah.
But by doing this, you aren't destroying the anger. You are building the mental muscle of choice. Yes. You are proving to yourself that you do not have to follow every thought down the alleyway just because it popped into your head.
So it's a difference between saying, I am not angry, I am perfectly zen, which is a lie,
A total lie.
and saying, I see the anger, it is loud and it is real, but right now, for the next 10 seconds, I am choosing to place my attention on the air entering my nose.
That is a massive difference. You are starving the anger of the narrative fuel it needs to spiral.
But what happens when that monkey isn't just mildly distracted or annoyed, but actively furious?
Like a full-blown crisis.
Exactly. Like we are in the middle of a high-stress, acute crisis. Let's talk about using this breath under real pressure, because this is where the philosophy meets physiology.
Yes. Let's move from the park bench to the battlefield.
Yeah.
Because the mechanics of anger are fascinating. And there's a brilliant mechanical analogy used in the text here, the overheating engine.
The overheating engine. Tell me about that.
When we become enraged or gripped by sudden panic, our breath physically changes before our conscious mind even fully processes the emotion.
Really? Before we even know we're mad?
Yes, the breath becomes short, it becomes harsh, and it becomes heavy. The biological system acts exactly like an engine that is revving at like 8,000 RPMs while sitting in neutral.
Oh, wow.
It begins to overheat.
We have all felt that deeply. Your chest gets tight, your vision narrows, you're practically panting.
Your body is prepping for war.
Right. You are physically primed to punch someone or sprint into the woods. The biology just takes over. But the claim here is that simply being aware of this, just turning your attention to that short, harsh breath, cools the entire system down automatically.
It does.
But how? Why does just looking at it fix it?
Because of how emotion functions mechanically. Emotion requires momentum and unconscious compliance to survive.
Unconscious compliance.
Yeah. Anger needs you to be lost in the narrative of why you are angry to keep the adrenaline pumping.
Oh, so it needs the story to stay alive.
Exactly. The moment you step back and observe the physical sensation of the breath, the moment you become the gatekeeper of that harsh, short breath, you are suddenly requiring conscious mental bandwidth.
You're interrupting the circuit.
You are robbing the anger of its unconscious momentum. You introduce a microscopic gap between the external trigger and your internal reaction.
Here's where it gets really interesting. That gap is everything. And this brings us to an incredibly active analogy. The breath as an emotional handbrake.
The handbrake is such a good tool.
The idea that the breath is a high-quality, perfectly functioning brake built into your nervous system.
Ready to be pulled at any time.
Right. Before you snap at a coworker, before you hit send on that deeply sarcastic email, or before you spiral into a full-blown panic attack about a missed flight, pulling the handbrake simply means taking 3 deep breaths.
Just 3.
Just 3. And this ties back directly to the definition of what it means to be smart, which we talked about earlier.
Right, because the goal isn't mystical enlightenment, but being smarter about how you live.
Here is the exact application of that intelligence. Being smart means intercepting your emotions before you become a biological slave to them.
You catch it early.
You feel the heat in your chest. You literally note, oh, anger has arrived, and you intentionally return to the breath. You reach down and pull the handbrake.
Let's really emphasize the mechanics of this, because this transforms mindfulness from a passive sit on a cushion, and smell incense activity into a real-time, aggressive crisis management tool.
Aggressive crisis management. I like that phrasing.
It is like having a superpower hidden in your nervous system. Think about it. You are in a tense board meeting. Someone directly insults your work in front of your boss.
Nightmare scenario.
Total nightmare. Your engine instantly starts overheating. The monkey mind is screaming for blood.
He wants to fight.
But instead of exploding or stammering defensively, you internally reach for that handbrake. You take 3 focused breaths, you force the gap, you regain control of the vehicle.
Exactly. By changing the breath, or even just aggressively noticing the breath, we intercept the emotion before it dictates our physical action.
We are no longer victims of our immediate physiological impulses. We have clawed back our agency.
But this real-time application isn't just for acute anger or sudden corporate crisis. It is arguably even more essential for surviving the slow, grinding, general exhaustion of the modern world.
Oh, the low-grade hum of anxiety.
The hum we all live with. Which brings us to what I think is the most comforting, visceral analogy we are going to talk about today.
The air-conditioned house.
Yes, the air-conditioned house.
This is such a vivid image for anyone living in a hyper-connected, chaotic environment.
Paint the picture for us.
Imagine the outside world is full of glaring hot sun, endless bumper-to-bumper traffic, car horns, and angry people.
I mean, we've all had those weeks where the world just feels loud, abrasive, and relentlessly demanding.
Honestly, every day feels exactly like that lately. The news cycle alone is a scorching sun.
Right. And the analogy says that returning to the breath in the middle of that day is like walking into an air-conditioned house.
Just hearing that feels nice.
You step out of the glaring heat, you walk through the front door, the heavy door clicks shut behind you, and suddenly, silence.
Just cool, quiet relief.
There is this immediate relief. The heat is still outside, the traffic is still out there, but inside, you are untouched.
It is the ultimate retreat. And the magic is, you don't even have to leave your cubicle or your car to enter it.
You just shift your attention.
Exactly. And we need this house so desperately because of another modern reality mentioned in the source, the flashing red battery.
The battery analogy is so relatable.
Our minds are constantly working. From the second we wake up, we are absorbing information, processing microstressors, making decisions.
Until our internal battery is literally flashing red at 1%.
And if that mind is not charged with genuine peace, it will eventually shatter. We burn out.
This is a profound observation about modern fatigue, and it exposes a massive flaw in how we relax.
What do you mean?
We think we are resting when we collapse onto the couch at 9 p.m. and scroll through our phones for 3 hours.
Oh, guilty.
But we aren't resting. We are just numbing.
Yeah, it's totally different.
The text highlights our deep modern terror of silence. People constantly scroll, they consume podcast after podcast, video after video, because they fundamentally fear being left alone with their own unedited thoughts.
It's true. That constant consumption is just draining the battery further into the red.
It is so incredibly true. You are lying in bed, physically exhausted, your bones are aching, but you are scrolling through 15-second videos of strangers cooking elaborate meals or dancing.
Or people doing drywall repair.
Exactly. Random stuff. Your brain is sprinting a marathon while your body is lying flat. You are processing thousands of images, sounds, and dopamine hits.
And yet we call that winding down.
We are running away from silence. But the core philosophy here argues that the inner silence, the exact thing we are using the phone to sprint away from, is actually the only medicine.
It is the only place the battery truly recharges.
And it suggests a brilliant, tiny intervention to start building a tolerance for that silence.
The 1-minute keyboard break.
The keyboard break, walk us through that.
When you're stressed at work, your eyes are burning from the screen, and your battery is flashing red, do not open a new tab to read the news.
Don't check Twitter.
Step away from the keyboard for exactly 60 seconds. You close your eyes, and you feel the breath of the nose. It compares this strictly to rebooting a crashed computer.
Have you ever had a laptop just completely freeze up on you?
Oh, of course.
The fan is spinning super loud, the cursor won't move, everything is locked. You can't fix it by furiously clicking the mouse or opening more programs.
That just makes it worse.
You have to literally hold down the power button, cut the electricity, and let the entire system reboot from scratch.
And that 60-second breath break is the hard reboot for the human operating system.
But we have to acknowledge the friction here. If we consider the listener's actual relationship with technology and their own mind, taking that 60-second break is surprisingly terrifying.
It really is.
We are conditioned to associate silence with anxiety. We drain our batteries with infinite scrolling precisely to avoid the noise of our own unresolved thoughts.
Right, let me push back on this heavily on behalf of the listener, because I know exactly how this feels.
Okay, let's hear it.
If the inside of my head is full of crushing anxiety, if my to-do list is a mile long, I'm stressed about my mortgage, I'm worried about my health, walking into that quote-unquote air-conditioned house of my own mind might feel less like walking into a sanctuary and more like walking alone into a haunted house.
Oh, a haunted house. That's a great way to put it.
The silence is where the ghosts live. How does a normal person, wrapped up in real-world stress, get past the fear of that silence when the silence is so loud?
That is the exact hurdle. That is the threshold where people turn back.
So what do?
We have to remember the principle we established earlier, the gatekeeper.
Right?
When you walk into that house and you see the ghosts, the anxieties, the financial fears, the imposter syndrome, you do not try to fight them.
You don't perform an exorcism.
No, you do not try to remodel the haunted house. You just observe them as the gatekeeper.
So you just let them be there.
Yes. You sit in the cool air of the breath and you just watch the anxieties pace back and forth in the hallway.
That sounds hard.
It is, but you acknowledge them. There is the fear about my mortgage. But you anchor yourself to the physical sensation of breathing. The fear of silence begins to dissipate the moment you deeply realize that you do not have to engage in a conversation with every single ghost that pops into your head.
You don't have to entertain them.
Exactly. You can just let them walk the halls while you focus on the air conditioning.
Wow. You just let the ghosts do their thing while you focus on the AC. That takes the pressure off entirely. You don't have to fix the anxiety to find the peace.
Now, while we have focused so heavily on the psychological and emotional software of the mind, we cannot ignore the hardware.
The physical body.
There are undeniable structural physical benefits to making this a habit. We are talking about deep belly breaths, settling the sediment, and running the fire drill.
The physiology of this practice is just as vital as the psychology.
Yeah.
We actually have to relearn how to physically breathe.
Which is wild to think about.
The framework points out that taking deep, full belly breaths, specifically noting that this is how a newborn baby naturally breathes, fully oxygenates the body.
A baby's belly just expands like a balloon.
Exactly. It mechanically improves blood flow. But think about how you breathe when you are stressed.
It's all up in the top 2 inches of the chest. It's shallow, tight, and erratic. It's panic breathing.
We walk around all day in the state of mild hyperventilation.
We do.
Returning to the natural, deep, expanding belly breath of a baby physically nourishes the body and signals the vagus nerve to stand down. It literally tells the nervous system, we are safe.
It is wild that we literally have to relearn how to perform the most basic biological function we had mastered on the day we were born.
We unlearned it through stress.
But that physical settling leads directly to mental clarity. And here we hit what might be my favorite visual in the entire discussion, settling the sediment.
Oh, the sediment analogy is beautiful.
Imagine a glass of water scooped out of a muddy river. It is completely brown and murky.
You can't see through it at all.
But if you just set the glass down on a table and leave it entirely untouched, over time, gravity does the work. All the dirt and sediment slowly drifts down and settles at the bottom, leaving the water at the top perfectly clear.
And the purpose of letting that sediment settle is crucial for how we operate in the world.
Because you need clear water.
Exactly. The clarity isn't the end goal, it's the tool. Only when the water is clear can you see the problems in your life accurately and therefore solve them precisely.
I want to linger on this because it destroys the critique that mindfulness makes you passive or lazy.
Yeah, that's a common criticism.
Mindfulness isn't about ignoring your problems. It doesn't magically pay your mortgage. It doesn't write that difficult email for you or fix your broken relationship.
It doesn't do the work.
It just clears the murky water so you can actually see the components of the problem. You can't fix an engine if the room is filled with smoke and you can't see the parts.
Exactly. The practice does not do the hard work of living for you. It creates the internal conditions required for you to do the work effectively. It gives you the clear water.
But there is a massive, urgent caveat here about when you should start cultivating this clear water. And this is the concept of the fire drill.
The fire drill. This is the hardest pill to swallow.
The warning in the text is this. Do not wait for a life crisis to start practicing this. You must practice when times are good.
When things are calm.
You have to practice on a boring, sunny Tuesday. It is exactly like running a fire drill in a school or an office.
You practice the escape route when there is absolutely no smoke in the building.
Exactly. You do it so that when a real fire breaks out, your body has the muscle memory to know exactly what to do without panicking.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it perfectly explains why so many people claim meditation doesn't work.
Oh, totally. Think about when someone typically tries a breathing exercise for the first time.
When is it?
It is usually right in the middle of a massive panic attack, or a devastating breakup, or a career crisis.
The absolute worst time to learn.
They try it once, they feel completely overwhelmed by the chaos in their mind, and they say, "See, this is garbage. It doesn't work for me."
Of course it didn't work. You tried to learn how to read the instruction manual for a fire extinguisher while your pants were literally on fire.
Yes, you cannot learn a new skill while cortisol is flooding your brain and your amygdala is screaming that you are about to die.
Exactly. But here's the friction, the inherent human flaw we have to overcome. Human nature is fundamentally reactive, not proactive.
We wait until it's broken to fix it.
We only seek out a doctor when we are in pain. We only seek out financial advice when we are broke. How do we motivate ourselves? How does the listener sitting in their car right now motivate themselves to run the fire drill, to take that 60-second keyboard reboot when there is no smoke, when things are generally fine?
That is the million-dollar question. Why do the push-ups when there's no war?
Because doing the daily maintenance is the exact mechanism that prevents the fire from starting in the first place.
So it's preventative.
Yes, the small daily practice of returning to the breath, of being the gatekeeper for just a minute a day, stops the dry brush of daily stress from accumulating into a massive tinderbox.
You aren't just preparing for a future hypothetical fire. You are actively cooling the environment every single day so the spark never catches.
You are sweeping the floor so the dust doesn't ignite.
I love that, sweeping the floors. Which brings us to the ultimate realization of this entire philosophy.
Where it all leads.
What this daily maintenance, this absurdly simple act of noticing air moving in and out of a couple of holes in your face, actually leads to, we were talking about something truly radical, free happiness.
The philosophical pivot here at the end of our framework is beautiful. It points out an undeniable biological reality that completely subverts our economic conditioning.
It really does.
It notes that simply breathing in and consciously realizing, hey, I'm still breathing, generates an organic, profound sense of gratitude for life itself.
Hey, I'm still breathing. It sounds almost insultingly basic.
It sounds like something printed on a cheap coffee mug.
Right. But when you actually strip away the noise, and you sit in the air-conditioned house of your own mind, and you feel the lungs expand, the weight of that realization is immense.
You survived another day. You are currently existing. You are here.
And to reach that state of profound enoughness, the rule is consistency over intensity.
Yes, consistency over intensity. Doing a little bit every day, just running that 1-minute keyboard reboot or pulling the handbrake for 3 breaths in traffic is infinitely more effective than abandoning the practice for 364 days and then going to a massive, grueling, silent meditation retreat once a year.
The goal is to make the breath a best friend.
A best friend. Let's unpack that dynamic.
A best friend isn't someone you only see once a year for an exhausting, tear-filled, intense catch-up session.
No, a best friend is someone you text casually every day. You check in. Hey, what's up? Nothing, just here.
That's the relationship you are trying to build with your breath. Casual, constant, reliable intimacy.
And the ultimate conclusion of this brilliantly plain-spoken guide is this. The practice of anapanasati leads to the simplest, most indestructible peace.
Which is knowing that this very breath, in and out, is the most important thing in life.
Because without it, literally nothing else matters.
The urgent emails, the mortgage rates, the political arguments, the traffic jams, they all instantly cease to exist without that next inhale.
Gone.
In a second.
This framework brings us forcefully from the chaotic, manufactured external world all the way back to the fundamental biological reality of our existence. And it finds absolute, unshakable peace right there in the biology.
So if we look at the mechanics of our society, it becomes very clear what the real struggle is.
What's the struggle?
Our entire modern consumer culture, our entire economy, is essentially built on making you forget this basic truth.
Say more about that, because that is a massive realization.
Well, the world wants you to believe that peace is a commodity. It wants you to believe that peace is something you buy, a status you achieve, or a luxury vacation destination you travel to. Because if peace is free, and it is already inside you, you are a terrible consumer.
Exactly. The radical shift here is moving from seeking external validation and external solutions to finding absolute enoughness in a biological function that you already possess.
You don't need a subscription, you don't need a temple, and you don't need permission to find the air-conditioned house.
It is the ultimate rebellion against a noisy world, just sitting still and breathing.
Okay, let's take a breath ourselves and recap the massive journey we've been on in this deep dive, because we have covered a lot of ground today.
We really have.
We started by dropping all the intimidating baggage, we threw away the white robes, we abandoned the perfect lotus postures, and we placed ourselves right at the dirty bus stop. Just you, your nose, and the reality of the moment.
We explored the art of doing nothing, the sheer difficulty of just standing on the bank of the canal, acting as the gatekeeper, watching the breaths walk in and out without trying to fix or judge them.
We talked about the chaos of the monkey mind, and more importantly, we learned not to shoot the monkey. We learned to use the 1001 rule to build that mindfulness muscle through gentle, non-judgmental repetition.
We broke down the mechanics of anger, how the engine overheats, and how we can use the breath as a physiological handbrake to force a gap between a trigger and our reaction.
We ran the fire drill while the house wasn't burning. We let the sediment settle so we could see our problems clearly. And we found the air-conditioned house right in the middle of our chaotic, exhausting workday.
All leading to the realization that the simplest, most profound piece is entirely free, always accessible, and literally keeping you alive at this exact second.
Exactly. So here is my challenge to you listening to this right now. Try that 1-minute keyboard reboot today.
Maybe right after this deep dive ends.
Before you immediately jump into the next podcast, before you open your inbox, before you check the news, just take 60 seconds, close your eyes, find the breath at your nose.
Let the monkey swing around, let the ghosts walk the halls.
But just be the gatekeeper for 1 single minute. See what happens when the sediment settles.
It might just be the most productive, rebellious minute of your entire day.
And as we wrap up, I want to leave you with one final thought to mull over, building on everything we've explored today. If your breath is your absolute most loyal companion, from the exact moment you were born to the exact moment you die, and it is completely 100% free, how much of your daily anxiety comes purely from forgetting what you already possess? Think about that. Until next time, stay curious and keep breathing.